Good morning, everyone. We'll start off with a little bit of a quote from an author. His name is Hugh Mulligan. What I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. And again, what I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. Each day, one day at a time, we make it through every day. And uh, um, how we enter into the day and how we behave in the day, do we see it as important? There's a sense of urgency. There was a group that I led and then was a part of as well, for people in recovery. And what they did is that we would go around and make sure that everyone was kind of excited about the day, and that we would do things with great enthusiasm. That's how they said it. You had to get behind it, and changing your mentality about how you want to look at the day. Do you go through the day with great enthusiasm? You're excited, you're fired up, you're pumped, you're ready to go, because this is it. This is the day in which it could all happen. And that's the mindset. I kind of like that. I like that what this author is saying. You're going to exchange a day for it anyways. The day's happening anyways. What attitude do you want to bring in to the day? So are you fired up, ready to go, excited about the opportunity, the possibility, bringing something new, or is it just another day? I hear it all the time, same stuff, different day. And that to me is just soul crushing and soul killing. We got a chance today to do something big. And, so what attitude am I bringing? So we're starting the Mishnah. We're going to look at, we're going to finish up. Well, I think yeah, so we did. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, "Do not appease your fellow in the time of his anger." We talked about anger and you know, about the emotion a little bit, but the next thing is, do not console a person while their dead lies before them. And there's I think there's two levels. One is that when something tragic happens to somebody, maybe it's not the right time for you to try and say it's going to be okay. Can I console you? Can I, how can I help? I mean, these are the things we want to do. Our tradition is very, very clear that if somebody is mourning, that you should not greet them until they greet you. And it's very hard for us to do that. It's very hard for us to not want to say something. We're not good with silence, and we're certainly not good with long silences. And so we want to fill that air. And maybe it's cultural, maybe it's just the way we were brought up. That's partially the culture, but that are you comfortable with not needing for everything to be okay and to make everything okay? And this is really the extreme of that, when somebody is and has had great loss, somebody has passed away, somebody is mourning the loss of someone dear, very dear to them. It says don't we ought not we should not console them. It's about allowing that person the opportunity to mourn, to grieve, to, I don't need to make it so much about me and my need to feel better in that moment to make it okay. You'll see that at different places where people are trying to console. It'll get better. You start to hear some of them might work at one point, but at another point it might not work. And who are we to decide where that person is in mourning? And how someone hears something isn't necessarily how you meant it. And so oftentimes silence is important, but what I think is the flip side of that is that we again aren't necessarily comfortable with the silence and just being. So do not console a person while their dead lies before them. Do not question a person about their vow at the time they take it. And this one's funny to me because, we all make promises. Let's say the vow is like a promise. I'm not going to do this. I don't want to get into I don't want to get into the specifics because I'm having a hard time saying that word. I don't want to get into the specifics about what a vow is, but let's say you make a promise, or you make some kind of commitment or something like that. And, it says here, do not question a person. Well, wait a minute. Last week you said you were going to do that and you're not going to do it, right? I mean, the diet is the perfect thing. The working out is the perfect thing. I'm going to do more reading. I'm going to take on something. So we take this vow, and good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. and we make a commitment that we're going to do someone, you should not, it's saying here, you should not, when someone is making that, you don't need to question them about that. Let that person have that moment. You don't need to confront somebody or tell them that that's what they did last week. And I'll just use one specific example. I'm not going to eat sweets for the entire rest of the month. And then the person, that you say that in front of says to you, but you said that last month. You said you weren't going to eat sweets for the entire month before, but you did it then. And it's saying right here not to do that. Don't be that person. Don't be the person that's questioning somebody when they're trying to make a commitment, they're trying to make a vow, when they're trying to make a change. And again, there's also the legalistic part to it, of course, because we're talking about the rabbis and how they understand how one should interact within the court setting, right? You have a law, and that law has to be executed or fulfilled, I should say. Do not question him about his vow at the time he makes it. So there's another element to that, is that when someone is swearing something and they're making some kind of oath, that's not the appropriate time for the questioning. It's after. Okay, so do not attempt to see that person at the time of his degradation. Space is really important, and it's imperative that I think the real thrust behind much of what we're talking about is understanding that people, when they have real emotional upheaval, when people have real emotional experiences, that maybe it's not the appropriate time to make decisions. Maybe it's not appropriate time to confront them. Maybe it's not the appropriate time to try and console them, to try and figure it out, to make them feel better. Oftentimes, it's important for us just to allow people the chance just to be. And if you're like me, I'm kind of a fixer. I want to fix it. I want everything to be great. We got a problem, let's fix it. But sometimes, more often than not, we got to sit in the problem a little bit. We have to figure out what the problem really is before we can move forward for a solution. Because if you have a problem, you don't know what the problem really is, and you solve the problem and you're off a little bit, you're solving for the wrong problem. And we all know in math, when you're just one little thing off here, it doesn't work. And so that's also true with our spiritual, emotional development. If you're solving a problem and you're a little off, you're a little off. And so there we go. Shmuel HaKatan, he says, so we're on chapter 4, Mishnah 24, and we'll finish up with this Mishnah today, see where we get. Shmuel HaKatan, Samuel the Little, said, when your enemy falls, be not glad, and when he stumbles, let your heart not be joyous, lest God see, and it displeases God, and God will turn God's wrath from him to you. So there's a couple of themes going on here. Of course, that God is intimately concerned with our behavior, and our behavior enacts or causes a reaction in God. And philosophically, I don't know whether or not you believe that or not, but I can say that for myself, I do believe that God is, number one, intimately concerned about my behavior, and that what I do, what energy I put out, what words I put out, what I put out does put out, or so I should say, what I put out does cause a reaction. And you can call it God, you can call it universe, you can call it whatever you want, but we all see that, is that our behaviors do interact with the world, and there are consequences, I should say, in a larger scale. There are consequences for all our actions. But let's look at what he says specifically. When your enemy falls, be not glad. And it goes right to the quick, is that how many of us do kind of look at people that, enemies might be a strong word, but how many of us do look at those in our life that maybe we don't get along with? I'm just making this personal, of course, on a larger scale. There are enemies, but if we look at it on a personal scale, do you get a little bit of joy from when you're, I forget the German word. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the German word. If someone knows, to throw it in the thing, but there's a German word for that you do get a little bit of pleasure when someone you don't like is failing or isn't doing well. And, that's part of the human condition, that it doesn't necessarily have to be your first, second, or third thought, but sometimes we do have that thought when someone that we don't particularly care for, or someone that an enemy, or somebody that we don't get along with, and they kind of stumble a little bit. Maybe there is a little emotion of joy, and then of course maybe our second thought, of course, is I hope they're okay, right? Of course. And when that person stumbles, let your heart not be joyous. And I think what it is that you have to really reflect in yourself. Do you have the wherewithal and kind of the emotional intelligence, and also the awareness that that's kind of what happens at times, and emotions and kind of experiences that we have. Number one, taking responsibility for it means being honest with oneself, and being honest with oneself and seeing where we do kind of go off the path a little bit. And again, these aren't always huge, very loud moments, internal moments. These could be subtle moments, and then once we have a consciousness around it, uh, um, we become more aware. Look, I was unaware of half the things I was doing in my life until I got a little older, and then I realized that wasn't necessarily the most appropriate way in which to do things. And so you have an awareness, and sometimes we become aware more and more that there might be, a part of me that does get a little joy out of people not doing well, that I have a negative reaction to. And again, it's not positive or negative. It's just about accepting, uh, um, you know, uh, um, who we are as people. Look, you could take it on the grander scale. I know I'm not getting political, but whatever you stand, or wherever you sit on the aisle, or wherever you stand politically, isn't the other guy, the other one, the other guy, when they don't do well, is there a part of us that, oh, that's good, okay. I think you got it. And let's do one more. How are we doing? Yeah, time's going quick, but it's uh, okay. Alicia Ben Avuya says, one who studies Torah as a child, to what can he be likened? So of course, the the pinnacle of action that one can take is, of course, studying Torah. Now we've defined Torah here as being, spiritual development, whatever you want. But the pinnacle is that you study Torah, and as a child, right? So that's early on. That this is something that is ingrained in the behaviors early on. To what can that person be like? And so let's make a comparison to ink written on fresh paper. It's just a beautiful little metaphor. Of course, the ink, of course, is permanent. It's Torah, but you have fresh paper, and the imagery is just great, right? That it's new. You have this idea of you see the writing utensil kind of maybe going in a beautiful script, and it's a new experience. It's fresh paper, right? That it's exploring. It's the first time you ever looked at it. Maybe you understand what it's like to study something for the first time, and it's very exciting. It's fresh. It's new. There's merit in that, but how do we get to maintain that freshness? So let's look. And one who studies Torah as an old man, to what can that person be like? And to ink written on smudged paper, meaning again that the paper is older, but isn't there something useful in that, right? That it's been worn. One of my favorite things, I'll make a comparison to any book that you read on a regular basis. If it's a siddur, or a book that you return to, when you first got the book, it was fresh, it was new. It was kind of fun to look at the new pages, and then after a while, after you've thumbed through the book, maybe it's a Torah, maybe it's a Siddur, maybe it's something you have, or maybe it's just one of your favorite books, or maybe something like that. And then after some time, it has become worn out, or it has become there's stains, there's smudges, like they're saying here. And what's great about that is that the ink itself, the ink is written on a piece of paper that has experience. There's writing on the side. There's experiences that are put into it. And so, what is it? What's the point? The point is that, at least in my opinion, is that wherever you are in life, may we look at it from both angles. That we need to bring our experience to what it is that we're doing, but we need to bring also a new pair of glasses, a fresh outlook. That we ought not just say that what my learning was yesterday or what I did yesterday was sufficient enough to give me a beautiful day today. May we continue to learn. May we find new ways in which to be innovative. May we explore new ways in which to experience life on a daily basis. That's actually really our charge, is to find new ways in which to experience life. Good morning. And new ways in which to approach the world. As we started off with this meditation, is that with this morning, what we started off was that really we got one day in front of us. How are you going to use it? And do I bring a bit of excitement about opportunity, a new, fresh page to write on? And that, isn't it a wonderful thing that I have all these experiences to bring to that? And so let's try something new today. And if it doesn't work today, then we can either try tomorrow or try something new. That's the beautiful thing. That God willing, we are given tomorrow, but we have today in which to do everything that we possibly can today. All right, have a wonderful Shabbat Shalom, and have a wonderful day.